4-5 The Zone. Let's get on the phone again. Talk to a gentleman we haven't spoken to. It's been too long. Tony Pauline up next. Tony, how in the world are you doing, man? Did you have a good trip up to Indy for the Combine?
It was long. I mean, you sit around all day, wait to get information. I went to all the workouts. It ends late, and you get up the next day and you do the same thing. But it was solid. It was fruitful, I guess.
Yes, sir. Tony Pauline, at Tony Pauline, sportskita.com, where he's doing his business now. What's the biggest news item or the biggest nugget that when you pulled up in Indy you didn't know, and when you left you thought, holy cow, now I know this?
Well, I mean, there were a couple of them. The Combine is where free agency really kicks into gear, and I think that the lack of deals that were done and guys that had to get tagged, like Antoine Winfield, they wanted a deal done, didn't get it. They tagged him. They are still hopeful for a deal. I think one of the other pieces of news is, people are running hot and cold on Drake May, the quarterback from North Carolina. Everyone thought he was a lock, top 3 pick. I'm not sure that's going to happen because he's all over the place. I think those were two of the biggest takeaways for me.
What players raised or hurt? You mentioned Drake May. What players raised and hurt their draft stock the most while you were up there in your mind?
Well, I think Xavier Worthy, the Texas running wide receiver who ran a 4.21 in the 40, I think that base alone really helped him. I think Trevor Wallace, the linebacker from Kentucky, who's a terrific linebacker on the field, had an outstanding workout. 4.51 in the 40, 37.5 inches in a vertical jump at 237 pounds. I thought the interior offensive lineman, Christian Haynes from UConn, who was known as a guy that was a big, small area, or was thought to be a guy that's a big, small area power gap blocker, tested incredibly well, did great in position drills. I think he really elevated his draft stock. I mean, as far as the losers are concerned, Audric Estime of Notre Dame, I was never very high on him. Running a 4.72, looking like a straight-line ball carrier. I think Kalen King of Penn State, the cornerback, who did not have a good season in 2023, did not have a good Senior Bowl. He goes to the Combine, he runs 4.61. This was someone, not me, but a lot of people thought could be a first-round pick entering the season. He's now hanging on as a 5th, 6th-round choice.
My goodness. Tony Pauline giving us the straight info here at Tony Pauline, again, sportskita.com.
Well, Tony, let's first start with, do you think the Combine should be moved, I guess, maybe every other year or, multiple times in a 10-year window? What are your thoughts on there, even though it's only been in Indianapolis, right?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I just wrote it. I just submitted a story to Sportskeeda that's going to show up, and there's always talk in the league about moving it. The recent cities were Las Vegas, Arizona, Phoenix, I believe, Minnesota, and Nashville. The league wants to move it. They want more exposure. They want to commercialize it. The teams do not want to move it. Indianapolis is the perfect place to have the Combine. It's centrally located in the country. So it's equidistant, if you will, from New York and Seattle and Los Angeles. The fact is everything is connected. So if you don't want to, you don't have to walk outside. You don't have to drive. Everything is right there in walking distance. I think what's going to happen is the league is going to push to move it for commercial reasons, and the teams will push back even harder to keep it in Indianapolis. It's the perfect city for a variety of reasons. Not the most exciting city, but for the purposes of the Combine, it is the perfect place.
Well, you, like everyone else, and my counterpart here, Mickey Ryan, loves the mock drafts. Who do you have mocked to the Tennessee Titans for the first 2 rounds?
And I don't know that I love them. I mean, I do them because people love them. Yes, people on the outside love them, and people eat the stuff up. And it's funny because right in front of me, I'm doing my updated post-Combine mock draft, and I haven't taken Olu Fashanu, the left tackle from Penn State. Joe Alt off the board, no big-time receivers there. I think they are in desperate need of offensive tackles. I think a super athletic left tackle like Fashanu to protect Will Levis, keep him standing upright, is something that they really need. I love Fashanu's upside. He's a tremendous pass blocker. Got injured during his running at the combine. Did 1 or 2 sets of position drills, if memory serves me, because I was there Sunday, then had to pull out. But, you watch the guy. He's been a real good left tackle at Penn State for 3 years.
So the film matches up with actual, I guess all the drills in the 40 or whatever you want.
Yeah, like I said, he did the 40. He only did a couple drills because he hurt himself, and then he had to pull out. But the fact is this: he's a terrific, agile, athletic, mobile left tackle prospect.
There you have it. Tony Pauline, NFL Drive Analyst for Sportskeeda.
Yes, sir. You mentioned last week in a story the Titans being a possible destination for Mekhi Becton. What's the info on that? And please kind of tell us what you know.
Well, this came from his team. Mekhi Becton is out with the New York Jets. I think the New York Jets I think it's a combination of the Jets mishandling Mekhi Becton and Mekhi Becton not taking football serious early on. He had a tremendous rookie season. Got hurt early in his second year when Robert Saleh took over. Got ballooned up to in excess of 415 pounds. Got hooked up with a new agent, a new training facility. Came into last season at 355 pounds. He's an athletic guy with a lot of upside. He's probably not going to cost a lot of money. And this is one of the teams, the Titans, that Becton's team told me, they are definitely in play. They're definitely in consideration. And he's not going to cost you a whole lot of money. It's probably only going to be a 1-year deal. And you might as well roll the dice, because if you can get Becton playing anywhere to what he was his rookie season in the NFL, even to what he was playing in September of 2023 when he came out and he showed a lot of promise, you could have a keeper at either the left or the right tackle spot, because Becton started off as a left tackle with the Jets. Then he had to play some right tackle. He did that very well early on in the 2023 season. Had to move back to left tackle. But the Jets are just a mess, and it went downhill for him, which I think was more a problem within the organization.
USA Today has an NFL reporter who has linked, 7 teams with interest in trading for L'Jarius Sneed. I found this interesting because, again, I've followed you on Twitter, now X forever. You had an article a few days ago, and one of the things you mentioned was maybe there are some knee concerns for L'Jarius Sneed?
I'd say maybe there are knee concerns for L'Jarius Sneed. And again, that comes from well-placed sources. Evidently, he's not been able to practice because of the knee issues. I think what's going to happen with Sneed is it's going to come down to the exams. Because when there's a trade consummated, teams will do an exam. And we've seen in the past where teams have said, he's failed our physical, we're not going to take him. So I think what will happen with Sneed is it will be a situation is, are the teams comfortable with the issue with the knee? And if they are, they will trade for him.
Tony Pauline, at Tony Pauline on Twitter, sportskeeda.com, hanging out with us here on Blaine and Mickey.
Do we know any details of the extent of the knee injury? Is something deteriorating, or is it something that, he can work through, or is just over time it's just not going to be really good for him over?
Well, without getting into detail, because of FIPLA rules, all I'll say is, from what I was told, people close to the situation, it is serious, but he did play through it. I think in one of the articles, or the article that you referenced to, I was told that, he wasn't able to practice because of the knee issue. So, again, when you're dealing with medical issues, it's not broad brush. Not every team agrees. It's not all, singular, if you will. Different teams look at it from different points of view, and there may be some teams that say, no way, and while another team will say, we're fine with this.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. I went through that myself, so I definitely understand. Well, with Tony Pauline, give us the 411 on what you think will happen with Justin Fields in this quarterback dilemma here with the first pick with the Bears.
Well, I had written in an article that there was a belief in Indianapolis that they were close with Atlanta because the Atlanta owner would like to have Justin Fields there. Now there's talk Kirk Cousins could end up there. It's an interesting situation because you have three quarterbacks in Justin Fields, Baker Mayfield, and very likely Kirk Cousins that will are going to be free agents or pending free agents, are going to be traded. And it basically depends on where the first domino falls. I mean, if Baker Mayfield signs back with Tampa Bay within the next week and a half, I think then you're looking at a situation where Fields could end up in Atlanta, Kirk Cousins could end up in Atlanta, Fields could end up with the Raiders, or a couple of other places. It's not just Justin Fields in this market. There are two other quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield as well as potentially Kirk Cousins. So it depends on where that first domino falls.
Well, we're on with Tony Pauline. And I know we were talking about offensive tackles, but do you think with the, limited amount of guys available at tackle in free agency, or you tell me if it's any different, does that then change the thought process for GMs who need tackles and that they may not get one in free agency or have to focus on the actual draft?
Well, there are a ton of offensive tackles in the NFL draft. Offensive tackle is the strongest
in the
position
free agency, in the
upcoming draft. So, I think what it comes down to is, do I want to spend, $10, $15 million or whatever it may take to get a tackle in free agency where I could get one in the draft, basically control them for 4 to 5 years at a cheaper cost.
Okay.
So that is what the conversation is going to be this year, especially in a draft where you're going to have good offensive tackles through the third round.
Oh, okay. So it's a deep offensive tackle draft. Who are some of the free agents outside of Becton, I think, and Tyrone Smith, I think, from the Cowboys? Is that his name, right? Who else is available off the top in that top-tier free agent NFL offensive tackle?
Yeah, there's not that many. I think it would be Smith. I wouldn't even consider Becton a top-tier free agent. Jonah Williams of the Cincinnati Bengals, who I think is on his way out. There was talk they were going to trade him. Played some left tackle for the Bengals, was moved to right tackle. Some people even like him on the interior, but that is another name to keep an eye on.
There you have it. Tony Pauline, NFL draft analyst.
Tony, where are you on Brock Bowers? There are some Titans fans who say take that guy at 7 or trade back and take him at 10 or whatever, and there are others who say, oh, my gosh, don't ever do that for a tight end. Where do you fall on him?
Well, I don't know why you wouldn't want to do it for a tight end. I mean, you look at the two most recent dynasties, Kansas City and New England. They both had great quarterbacks, and they also had big playmaking tight ends. I mean, Jason Kelce and Gronkowski. So, when you can, although granted those guys were second-round picks, they weren't early first-round picks. If I'm the Titans, and a guy like Malik Neighbors is there, or an offensive tackle is there, I'm going in that direction. If somehow the top offensive tackles are off the board and you like Brock Bowers, Brock Bowers is the third-rated player on my draft board right now. He is an incredibly talented tight end, 242 pounds, gets down the field, plays the position like a receiver. Not a bad blocker. I mean, blocking his inline blocking is not his forte, but they really didn't ask him to do it that much at Georgia. On the second level, blocking motion, he does a real good job. I would have no problem, with the Titans taking him. In fact, in my most recent mock draft, which will be out tomorrow at Sportskeeda, I actually have the Chicago Bears taking him with the 9th pick of the draft.
Oh, so you mentioned him being in your top 5 there. Who are your top 5 draft prospects?
Right now, the top 5 are Marvin Harrison, who I think is far and away the best player in this draft. Then I got Caleb Williams, Brock Bowers, and then Jaden Daniels. I mean, Marvin Harrison, there's some decent separation from him and the rest. Williams, Brock Bowers, and Jaden Daniels are very close.
Man, Tony Pauline breaking it all down for us at Tony Pauline on Twitter, sportskita.com.
Man, you're giving us great info, Tony, here. I guess give us your top 3 coming out in the draft at wide receiver, O-line, and cornerback, the biggest needs for the Titans. Give us your top 3 candidates in those, and you give us more if you like.
The top three at receiver are pretty easy, and that would be Marvin Harrison, followed by Malik Neighbors of LSU, followed by Roma Dunze of Washington. I think all those guys are going to be top 10 picks. A little bit later on, it'll be Brian Thomas of LSU. As far as offensive line, it's all tackle. Fashanu of Penn State I have rated slightly higher than Joe Alt of Notre Dame, Talise Fuaga of Oregon State, and then Tyler Guyton of Oklahoma. Cornerback class, it's a little trickier with the cornerback class because of the Jones fracture that Kool-Aid McKistry of Alabama has right now. So looking at my cornerback board, my highest-rated cornerback is actually Quinnen Mitchell of Toledo, followed by Terrion Arnold of Alabama, followed by Kool-Aid McKistry because so much is unknown about that injury he had, which prevented him from working out at the Combine.
All right, now, you said those top three. I'm real interested. They don't have a third-round pick, but if they do accumulate a third-round pick, what cornerback is available in the third round? It could still be a starter, you think, or is that even possible in this year's draft?
I think if T.J. Tampa of Iowa State somehow slides into the third round, I think that is a guy who could start. He's smart. He's long. He's got terrific ball skills. He's very instinctive. I think Kalen Carson of Wake Forest is another guy, 6 foot tall, 195 pounds, very athletic, needs some polish in his game, but a guy who I also believe you could get in that third round area. I do like Chris Abrams-Drain of Missouri a lot in that third round area, but he's under 180 pounds, so I don't know if you're looking, if you're looking for a nickel guy, he probably could start for you at nickel. If you're looking for an outside guy, I don't know that he's got it.
Any thoughts on some of the guys that were franchise tagged or who wasn't?
No, I don't think there were any surprises. I mean, Josh Allen being franchised by the Bills, I think what that means is they're going to go not by the Bills, by the Jaguars. I think that means they're going to go offense with the first pick. Jalen Johnson being franchised, I think it's a good move because, you get a big cornerback like that. You want to keep him. Brian Burns was a little bit interesting. They franchised him after cutting off contract talks, stopping contract talks with him when they could have gotten a bunch of draft picks for him a year ago. I guess, Antoine Winfield was the interesting one because I think that they're close to a contract. I think they'll get something done before the draft. They'll take the franchise tag off him.
I know we covered a lot, but was there any storylines for the offseason of the NFL that you find intriguing that we haven't discussed?
No, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything right now. I mean, there was all the coaching changes, Harbaugh going to the Chargers when he really had his pick of the litter. Raheem Morris, I think, was a good signing by Atlanta. I don't think there was anything that was crazy that was off the charts.
How surprised were you, real quick, on Vrabel not being signed anywhere? Him or Belichick, by the way.
I think when the Patriots immediately elevated Gerard Mayo, that was basically Vrabel as well as Belichick was going to have to hang on the outside. I think Vrabel was. I think he's more than happy to take a year off and then enter the fray next year. Who knows? I mean, the New York Jets could be in play next year for him. I am surprised, but I'm not because from what I heard, he was more than happy to just relax, rest, and collect a big paycheck next year, and he'll be back in the mix. You got to think after the 2024 season, he's going to be the hottest name as far as head coaching is concerned.
No doubt about it.
Hey, on the way out, Tony, we appreciate all the time today. Anything you're hearing about Derrick Henry fits where he might land?
I'm sure the Dallas Cowboys would like to make a run at him. There was talk that the Cowboys were going to try and trade for him last year. They want the bigger back. Now Pollard is out there. He's a free agent. I think that is definitely a destination that you got to focus on.
Tony, thank you, man. We know you're busy. Everybody needs to follow Tony Pauline at Tony Pauline, or just go to sportskita.com right now, bookmark it, and go there every day for the latest news. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate
Yes, sir. Tony Pauline, big Led Zeppelin fan, too. We've talked about them before. He is a big music guy. All right.